Good morning, class. This video is going to cover Unit M on Microsoft PowerPoint. And the introductory unit to this module covers creating a presentation. The objectives in this unit include opening and viewing a presentation, how to create a new presentation. We're going to learn how to enter and format slide text, learn how to apply a theme, add and modify clip art, add and modify shapes. Going to learn how to create smart art and insert tables. So looking at how to open and view a presentation, PowerPoint is a presentation graphics application that allows you to create dynamic slides. PowerPoint is primarily used for presentations, for lecturing, if anyone has attended a conference with speakers, more than likely they use some type of presentation software. That's what PowerPoint is. There are some other versions of presentation software out there. I believe Mac has a version. It may be called, I believe that one is called Keynote, but Microsoft version that is covered in this class is PowerPoint. And those slideshows display a sequence of full screen slides on a computer, and those slides can be tailored to combine text, graphics, sound, and that should say video. So we'll correct that. Let's see, moving on to the next slide. There are several ways to view a presentation. Similar to most other Microsoft applications, there are more than one way to view a document. In PowerPoint we have, looks like 5 different ways to view a presentation. One is normal view, which is what you're looking at on my screen now. You have a slide sorter view, which we can switch over to that right now. And you can see slide sorter view gives you the ability to grab and move slides, rearrange your presentation. This is probably the most effective way to reorder your slides in a presentation if you need to make such changes. Let's see, let's go back to where were we? Here we are. Slideshow view, which is a full screen view. You can click the slideshow tab, and we want to look from the current slide. Now you can see that we have a full screen presentation that displays the slide where you can see only the slide that you're speaking to. Okay. Reading view. Let's go back to reading view. Is a view that basically makes PowerPoint presentation easier to read. I'm actually using Microsoft Office 2007. I don't see that option available here, but it is available in 2013. And then lastly is the notes page view. The notes page view is a view that you can use if you want to create or add notes to your slides to help you speak from. And when you're in PowerPoint slideshow view, where the audience will not be able to see your notes, but you standing at the podium looking at your monitor would be able to. So that's what notes page consists of. See, moving on to divide it into 2 panes. The slide pane shows the full slide. This is the largest area, and the thumbnail pane shows slide thumbnail. So that's what we're looking at currently. This pane to the right is going to be the slide pane, and it shows the full slide, and this is the largest area, as you can see on the screen. And the thumbnail pane is to the left, and you can see the different thumbnails of the slides that are included in this presentation. So if I wanted to skip down to, let's say, the last slide, I could click slide 23, and it would automatically move us down to the last slide in the presentation. Okay. Let's see, this next slide is just a graphic. It's figure M3, which is in your book. I don't spend a lot of time covering these graphics in a lecture or in the videos because they're available in the textbook for you to view as you're going through the tutorial. Alright, so moving on how to create a new presentation. To do that, you'll begin the PowerPoint start screen. You'll choose a blank presentation, and then a presentation has coordinated fonts, colors, special effects called themes. For each new slide, you can add or select a layout, which is an arrangement of placeholders. So, for example, we would use the File tab in Office 2013. We would select New to create a new presentation, and you'll see it gives the option for a blank presentation. There's also different themes available that you can choose from to start your presentation, or you can create a blank presentation and then choose the theme once you've begun editing your presentation. For the layout, let's open a blank presentation and I'll give you some examples of some of the layouts. All right, in PowerPoint you have different types of layouts, and the layouts are located on the Home tab in the Layout drop-down box, which is located in the Slides group. You can see once I click the down arrow, there are several different layouts available. You've got a title slide, which is the one that appears on the screen. You have a title and content slide, which is what appears now. What this would do, or an application for this slide would be, if you wanted to say include a chart, you could add the title to your slide. Say if it's a chart saying monthly sales for a particular organization, and then you could come into the into the box below, and you can add a table, a chart, you could add smart art, insert a media clip like audio or video, you can insert clip art or a picture from a file. So there's several, and you can also insert there are other objects that can be inserted, but this particular layout gives you shortcuts to insert any of those objects into your PowerPoint presentation. Let's take a look at another layout. You have two content slides. Let's say if you wanted to compare one chart to another, or if you wanted to compare one graph to another, you would use a layout similar to this style. And again, you would add your title, insert chart 1, and then insert your second chart if you wanted to make a comparison. And there are a few other options here. You have a title only slide, maybe to begin a presentation, or maybe even a subheader in the presentation. You also have a section header, which is tailored a little bit more for subsections throughout your presentation. So those are just some of the examples of the types of layouts that we have to choose from in Microsoft PowerPoint. All right, let's see. Moving on, the title placeholder contains a click to add title text box, which is what you see here. Okay, I had to pause for a second. My apologies. So the placeholders in PowerPoint, Microsoft PowerPoint, you can see will basically give you a hint as to what this text box is for. So for the one at the top of the screen, this is going to be for your slide title. The one at the bottom of the screen, this would be a subheader that you could use to identify your chart or whatever the content is that you're including in your comparison box. Same thing for the comparison box on the right. That would be a subtitle to detail what the content is that you're trying to display or you're trying to compare. Alright, the subtitle placeholder, we just touched on that. The first slide in a new presentation is usually almost always based on the title slide layout, which we showed a few minutes ago. So it's going to look something like that. You'll have a place to add your title and a subtitle if you would like if you want to do monthly production report, and then you could put in the month that it included and who drafted the presentation. Something like that. That's typically what's used on that type of title slide. Alright, let's see. Creating a new presentation. And let's go into slideshow mode so we can look at this a little bit easier. You have several icons on your content placeholder. This is in the content box that I was demonstrating a few minutes ago. You have the the table icon that will allow you to add a table with the number of rows that you specify. You have a chart icon which will allow you to use any Excel chart type. Smart art, those are pre-designed diagrams that you can customize, and we'll get into those a little bit later in this presentation. There are art that also gives a functional representation to some type of process usually is what those are for. A picture stored on your computer is exactly that. It's just some type of visual aid to help in your presentation. Online content or a picture from office.com website or from the web using a Bing search. Those, and you can use any type of search. This slide includes Bing because this is a Microsoft product and so is Bing. But you can search the web to include online content, or you can store a video or audio file using the media icon. So let's move on to the next slide. Entering and formatting slide text. You would enter and format text the same way that you would in a Word document. It shows exactly, when you work in the slide pane, it shows you exactly how the text will look on the slide, which is one reason why I would recommend using that layout or that view when you're preparing your presentation, so you can get an idea of what it's going to look like and you can edit it on the fly instead of having to go back and make a bunch of changes at the end. Usually correcting as you're going through creating your presentation is the best way to do it. Placeholders, those can, as we mentioned earlier, can contain text, graphics, or a table, and those are editable, and they can also be removed. And how you would remove those is this last bullet point indicates a dashed line surrounds the title placeholder. So let's flip over. So if I wanted to take out my subtitle, I would click on the border with my four-way arrow and just simply press delete, and now my subtitle is gone. Because what will happen if I type in, let's see, alright, if I type in my title, let's just say monthly sales report, and that's all I want to include, and but I don't remove my subtitle box, well, typically it's gonna remain on your slide. You see that it did not show up on the slide view, but it will stay there in the slide deck. So for example, if you email out a PowerPoint presentation, let's say your boss is busy and he can't make the meeting, so he's asked for what they call a silent update. So that would include just emailing the slide deck to your boss, and if they may come back with questions if they have them. But you want to make sure that your presentation looks professional as possible always. So any unneeded placeholders, I would suggest removing those, and you can do that by just simply clicking on the border and pressing delete. Alright, so back to where we were. We covered this slide. Let's see, indenting and unindenting text. So most PowerPoint presentations, as you may have noticed in the one that we're covering right now, have bullet points. PowerPoint is a tool to help support a presentation or support a lecture, and it's not meant to contain every bit of data or every paragraph, sentence, and word that you're going to say during your presentation. It's meant to kind of give a brief idea as to what you're going to speak to. So for example, on this slide, you can see I've got 3 bullet points referencing indenting and unindenting text. And you have different levels of bullets. And those bullets can be demoted, which means made smaller, and I'll give an example of that here. So if we click Shift, or excuse me, not Shift, but Tab, you can see how that bullet point gets smaller. So if I wanted to, in kind of an outline format, have a sub-bullet underneath my first bullet, I could press the Tab key however many times necessary to demote my bullet to a size or a view that I like. Now, you can just simply do that by placing your cursor to the left of the text that you want to demote the bullet. Press Tab until you get to the size that you like, and you've demoted your bullet in that manner. Now, if I want to undo that, I would press Shift Tab, and it just undoes that. You just hold down the Shift key, press the Tab key, and it will unindent your bullet points. So that's a quick keyboard shortcut on as how you would demote your bullets, or I guess you would call it promote your bullets back and forth as needed. Alright, let's see, moving on. The next slide, we're going to discuss applying a theme. And a theme is, themes are prevalent throughout Microsoft Office. They make it easy, quick and easy to give any document, presentation, spreadsheet a professional look. It contains, design, colors, graphics, fonts, special effects that just make it really easy for you, the user, to make a professional and great looking presentation or document. So really all you have to do is provide the content, the bullet points, the text, the charts, what have you. So once you apply a theme, and you can apply themes in many different ways. You can see on the design tab you have a selection of themes here that we can click, and it will change the theme. If you don't want to change if you don't want to change the theme, you just want to get have a preview, you can hover over each one and you'll see that the slide will change. So I can give you a quick idea of what that theme would look like. Alright, so let's say I want to select this theme. Alright, but I don't like the black background. I can go to the colors option and I can select a different theme. You can see the bottom half of my screen is changing. So this would actually address the transition from the dark color to a lighter color. Or you can create a new theme of your own, choosing your own colors. So there's several options, but the idea is that you should be able to find one that you like and then maybe modify it slightly to fit or give the look that you're going for. Okay. All right, let's see, templates. Somewhat similar to a theme, except templates are what you would start out with. Template contains content guidance for specific types of presentations, organized into topic categories, and you can select a template when you first create your presentation. So for example, in Microsoft Word, we had some templates for like a formal business letter, a resume. In Excel, you may have templates for financial reports, things of that nature. So certain templates have a specific use, and then they make it really easy on the user to select that template and just input again the content or the data that is needed to complete the report. Alright, clip art. Alright, so clip art. Clip art are pre-designed photos and illustrations. Most of them are animated type of graphics that can be added to a presentation to just give it typically just a visual aid aspect. You can search for clip art using keywords in Microsoft Office. There's also a wide selection of clip art on office.com that is royalty free, which means you don't have to pay a fee for it. Now if you go out on the internet and search for clip art, you probably will find the type of clip art that you're looking for, but there's a good chance you'll have to pay for it. So there are several ways that you can get around that, and one of them is by going to office.com and selecting clip art from there. You can also create your own clip art. You would either be designing an animated graphic or drawing of some type, or maybe taking a photo and tweaking it or editing it to your liking. So, but clip art are used to enhance presentations, and they can be found on the web, office.com, and places like that. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Understanding picture effects. PowerPoint contains many editing features that let you change the look of pictures. You can select the picture and then select the Active Picture Tools Format tab, and Corrections button, or add artistic effects. I'm going to pause briefly and see if I can find a photo, and we will edit it. Alright, so I found a picture. This is of the painted desert, I believe it is. So what I did was I inserted this photo into my PowerPoint presentation. You can use the Insert tab and use the picture icon, or you can use in a let's see, in a content slide like this one below, you can use the picture icon shortcut that's embedded in the content box. So that's what I did, is I used the picture icon in the content box and imported this picture. So if I want to modify this picture, the first thing I have to do is select the picture, which means click the picture. You can see the resizing handles around the border of the picture on the corners and in the middle, and I can click the corner and drag and resize the photo. Okay, so originally when I imported this photo in, it was about that size. So what I can do is move it to the top left corner, and I can click the bottom right corner and drag away or towards the bottom right corner of my slide and enlarge the size of my picture. Now if you're going to resize a picture, I always recommend using the corner handles because you can notice it kind of keeps the aspect ratio of the picture the same. So you can see it's still a rectangle, it's just a smaller rectangle. Where if I use the handle on the right, click and drag, well, I've stretched my picture and now it's distorted. Or if I use the bottom handle, the same thing, it distorts it, right? So what I would recommend doing is clicking the bottom right corner and dragging away at a 45-degree angle towards that bottom right corner, and it keeps your picture looking like it did before, just only larger. Okay. So if I want to add some effects to this picture, again, the picture has to be selected, and you'll know that by the resizing handles around the border of the photo. You go to the Format tab under Picture Tools. Let's see, if we want to change the contrast of this picture, you can see by hovering over the picture, we can change the contrast. We can change the brightness of the picture, make it really bright or really dark. We can also compress the picture. If we so choose, change the picture, reset the picture. We can also add some picture styles. Let's see, let's hover over some of these styles. These will add a border. Let's see, a metal frame around that picture. It's hard to tell on the white background. That's got a drop shadow rectangle. You can see now that this corner or this side of the picture, the bottom and the right, looks like they're elevated above the slide. Kind of gives it a 3D look, and you can see a little bit of a shadow. So those are some of that's one picture style. We can add a metal oval if we want to cut out some of the picture on the edges and just kind of focus on the center of the photograph. We can do that. There's all types of ways to modify the photo. You can tilt it at an angle, kind of make it look something like a photograph maybe we would find in a scrapbook or something to that effect. So those are some of the ways that we can edit the picture. Let's see, there are a few other ways. Let's see here. Let's try the glow variations. Let's see, where did that go to? That one did not change the picture that much. Let's see, reflection variations. Alright, so let's take a look at our reflection. If we wanted to create a reflection on this one, you can see maybe, let me blow it up a little bit more, that you have a reflection. Kind of like if this was in front of a lake or some type of body of water that may reflect it somewhat. So there are several different, you have shadows, you have beveled edges. So let's go back and take the reflection off, and let's add a beveled edge. Let's see. And we'll blow that up, make it a little bit easier to see. And you can see the colors on this particular photo make it a little hard to tell, but it's added that beveled edge around the photo. So just several tools in PowerPoint to edit a photo with. Alright, so now let's move on to, let's see, adding and modifying shapes. So one of the other things that you can do with PowerPoint is you can add shapes. Excuse me. Sorry to clear my throat. To a slide presentation, to add appeal, to help demonstrate or make a point. And those types of visual aids are very helpful when you're trying to give a presentation. So You can modify its appearance by modifying style, outline, fill, and by applying a shape effect. You can also instantly add text to a shape and format it. So in one of your tutorials, you'll be asked to add a shape. Let's see, we'll add a new slide. We will find, let's see, insert a chart, smart art, clip art, insert picture from file. Alright, so what we'll do, I don't see one specifically for shape, but what we will do is we will insert shapes, and this time we will use, let's use the star. And you'll be asked to click and drag, or to insert the star, you will click and drag. I'm going to take this text box out behind it because we don't need it. Alright, so you notice that when I clicked insert shape, I selected a star, I had to click and drag to draw or create the shape. And you can see the shape has resizing handles like a photo would. Again, I recommend using the corner bullet, or excuse me, the corner resizing handle, and going at a 45-degree angle. That tends to help keep the shape intact of its original appearance, just only smaller. So let's see, what else do we have here? You have the green handle up top, which you can see when you hover your cursor over. That is a tool that allows you to rotate the shape. So if we want to rotate it away from its original position, we can do that. If I want to put it back to where it was, I can do that as well. Or I can just simply select or click, excuse me, press Control and Z, and it'll go back to the normal size. So let's add some text to this one. And you can see if you don't drag the handle right at that 45-degree angle, it will distort your shape as well. So we want to, let's see, edit text. So we want to add some text to this. Let's see, we want to format shape. We want to add a text box, middle, horizontal. Alright, so we're going to type that, and then we're going to edit text, and we're going to type in 5 star. Alright, so you can see we added our text. It's small. It's probably not a good color. It's a light color on another lighter color. I mean, blue. The blue is somewhat dark, but we could have a better contrast. So what I would do is I would select the text, and you can see we have our mini toolbar here. I would increase the size of my font a great deal, and then I would use a color like maybe black to add some contrast to my shape. And then I can also bold my text to give it even a better appearance. So those are just some of the ways that you can add text to a shape. It's very similar to the way you would add and edit text in any document or PowerPoint or Microsoft Word or any other Microsoft application. So let's see, let's move back to our presentation. We have just a few more slides here. So we talked about adding and modifying shapes. We did that. One of the other things I will say on the shape is you can change the color. If I want to format the shape, the color fill, let's see, we have a solid fill. The color is just light blue. Well, what if I like red? Okay, so now I've changed it to red. So you can edit your shape by right-click, clicking and formatting shape, and you can give it all different types of looks. We can give it a 3D format. We can add a shadow. We can change the line style if we want the width to be a much thicker point. We can do that. And when I go back to our slide, you can see now it has a very thick border. So those are just some of the other things we can do to format our shape. Alright, so let's click back over. We discussed adding, modifying shapes. We discussed resizing graphics and images already. Using the sizing handles. We can also use a text box option to set the text alignment, which is similar to what we just did with our shape. So really the way you would add text, edit text in a photo or an image, and with a shape would be virtually the same. All right, so creating smart art. So smart art is helps you create professional looking diagrams. You can convert text to smart art. And smart art includes many layouts from which to choose, and once you create the smart art graphic, you can be modified just as you can with any other object. So let's flip over to our sample slideshow that we've got going. We're going to insert a new slide. We're going to insert, let's see, smart art. You have different groups of smart art on the left-hand menu. We're going to select a process for smart art. Let's see if we can find one that we like. Let's see. Basic process, continuous process. Here's one that I like, the cycle process. Okay, so for this example, we would need to have a process that's kind of a continuous process. So for what we'll use some of the things that I do in my professional job as an example here. So one of the things that we do is we add capacity to sales sites with the company that I work for. So we always begin that process by getting a design from our engineering group, and we scope the design, which means we take a look and determine what it is the design calls for, and what we need to do with that design. What is it going to be? What is going to be required? All right. So we'll scope the project first. We will then complete what we call site acquisition, which is acquiring space on a tower so we can add our new equipment. We will then complete construction. Adding that new equipment. And let's correct the spelling of. We will implement the new equipment. And lastly, we will close out the project. Now, when we're done closing out the project, in this case, Control Z. Alright, so when we're done closing out the process here, let me remove my title slide for this example. My title placeholder. Alright, so we close out the project. Now, the reason why this is a continuous process, because the next time that we go back to that tower cell site to add additional capacity, we will take the closeouts from the previous project, and those will be the inputs into the next project. So it's just a continuous loop. So we have to have a starting point, and we start at what did we do last time? Well, we go back to our closeout, with what we call our closeout documents, and that includes what we did to the previous project to that site. We'll take that information and we'll add it to the engineers will incorporate it into the design. We'll scope that design, and we'll just work our way through the process. Okay, so that's just this process could be similar process could be recycling. You know, this cycle, this continuous cycle here looks similar to what a recycling the recycling logo looks like, right? So we would let's see, an example of that would be manufacture plastic bottle. Alright, the next one would be, and we can take some of these out, we don't need all of these. Use bottle. Recycle bottle. And that's a very simple way to represent this. Oh, all right. So recycle bottle. There we go. So not quite the same shape, but similar. And you can see, let's say, continuous process. So this is an example of smart art. It's a graphic that represents a process or some other type of communication that you're wanting to relay to a group of people, to an audience, to a class, to you know, maybe at a conference, or if you lecture at a class, or if you're just giving a presentation at school. So, but this is an example of what smart art is. All right, so let's see where we are. Let's see. All right, let's see if PowerPoint will cooperate with me. All right, there we go. All right, so creating smart art. Let me blow this up so we can get a better view of it. Current slide. So we used the cycle example, repeating our circular process. There are several other types of smart art. You have lists, non-sequential information that help demonstrate complex relationships relating to a whole. Processes, a directional flow of connections between parts of a process, and that represent proportional or hierarchical relationships. That could be like a manufacturing process. For my on-campus class, the example I used was creating Cheerios. So if you were going to create Cheerios, you would probably gather all of the ingredients beforehand. You would bake the Cheerio, or incorporate the ingredients together, bake the Cheerio, add the glaze at the end, or whatever type of top coating that they put on the Cheerio, and you would box it, send it out to the stores, sell it to the customer, something like that. That would be a type of process that could be represented with a smart art that outlines or details the process. We touched on the cycle example already. Hierarchy would be something similar to a like you can see in the use, a decision tree or a chain of command, an organizational chart. So an organizational chart would probably be the most common example that I could think of, where you would display the leadership in an organization. You know, you would have your boss, and underneath your boss would have all of your boss's direct reports, and if any of your boss's direct reports had their own direct reports, then you would also be able to represent that next layer of management on a organizational chart. And then lastly, connections between two or more sets of information, a relationship. Smart art can be used to do that. In those cases, a relationship could be for IT systems, or maybe database tables. Database tables for the computer science majors in this course. You would know, if you don't know, you will know soon, that database tables that contain information have to have relationships with one another in order for the database to be effective. So those are just some examples of what smart art can do for you. All right, and let's see, inserting tables. Similar to what we did in Microsoft Word, you would insert a table. You can build your own custom table in PowerPoint, or you can insert a table from Microsoft Excel. They consist of rows and columns just like they do in Microsoft Word, and it's pretty much it. And you can use those in the content on your content slides if you have something you're trying to represent. You can use them on a comparison slide if you're trying to compare two things. But that's what you can insert tables into Microsoft PowerPoint. You can see here's an example of a figure in your textbook that shows the dialog box where you would insert a table. In this one, we're specifying a number of columns as 2 and a number of rows as 4. You can see 2 and 4. And below you have 2 columns and 4 rows. Alright, adding slide footers. You can add a footer to a slide just like you can a Word document or an Excel document. They can contain date and time, slide number, or specific text that you enter. And you can select the slides on which you want the footer to appear. If you don't want the footer to appear on your title slide, then you don't have to. You can specify which slides you would like for the footer to appear. And to do this, you would click the Insert tab and then click the Header and Footer button. We can do that now. Insert tab, and we will click the Header and Footer button right here, and it'll give you some options on what text you want to include, what slides you want to include it on. Then you can apply that footer to those slides that you designate, and they'll be added to your presentation. So let's flip over to our sample slideshow that we've got going. We're going to add, let's see, we're going to insert header and footer. So let's include the date and time, updated automatically. Let's see, we can indicate which slide number we want, and we can apply to all. So when we apply to all, let's do a slideshow view here. You can see, maybe barely, let's blow that up. On the bottom left corner of the screen, you have your date and time, and that's on every slide. Right here in the bottom left corner of the screen, we've got the date, and it's there on our last slide. We don't have any content, but it's there. So that's how you apply a footer. And that's the last slide for this presentation. So this was Unit M. There'll be videos for Unit N and O upcoming or coming up very shortly. If you have any questions, please email me through course messages. Otherwise, have a good rest of the day.